All right, guys, because college basketball, the big extravaganza is starting tomorrow with wire-to-wire games starting at noon, and the last game, I think, tips off at 11:59 at night. I wanted to give some of my top bets, so these are just 20 bets that I like. Really, this is just to get back into the swing of it. Obviously, predicting, betting this early in the college basketball season with all of the transfers. Nobody knows how these teams are going to gel or anything like that. These should be taken with a grain of salt, but I do like making predictions and things like that, especially with college basketball starting and with all of the games that are happening, because there are a ton of games tomorrow on Monday. A lot of them are, very bad matchups. I think there's like one good matchup, Memphis at Vanderbilt maybe, where I think Vanderbilt's a 1.5-point favorite. But getting to my games, I'm going to say Pacific plus the 18.5 at Stanford. I know Stanford returns a decent amount, but when you look at the computer model projections, a lot of the models really like Pacific. They think the spread in this game should be 9 to 10 points. This is a 2 o'clock afternoon game. It is kind of funny. They've got Baylor kicking off the season at noon versus Mississippi Valley State, who is one of like the worst Division I teams in all of college basketball every year. But I also like the under in this game, Pacific and Stanford, and I'll take Pacific to cover the 18.5. That's just based off of a model. Also, Stanford basketball, I know they return Harrison Ingram, the former 5-star. They're really not that good, guys, so we'll take Pacific there. Robert Morris plus the 20.5 at Ohio State. I also love the under in this game. Ohio State losing their top two players. Ohio State last year in the opener really struggled, barely beat Akron at home. Chris Holtmann tends to struggle to cover these lines. Robert Morris will stay within the 20.5, in my opinion. Ohio State returning a lot. They got 3 decent transfers. Really just, it feels like the Buckeyes are going to be more of a defensive team, kind of middle-of-the-pack Big Ten team due to losing E.J. Liddell, Malachi Branham. We will see, but I do like Robert Morris based off of past history and an Ohio State roster with very little returning production. I'll take Robert Morris to cover the 20.5. Manhattan at VCU or Virginia Commonwealth. We're going to go with the under 138, so it's not a huge number, but VCU games never seem to be high scoring. Manhattan apparently is supposed to be terrible. I believe VCU is minus 18.5 in this matchup, but I will take the under 138 in that one. Penn at Iona. We're going with the under 148. It just feels like an under type of game. Penn and Iona, are they really going to score a ton? I'm personally not seeing it. I'll take the under. Bowling Green minus the 1.5 versus Air Force. So this is a competitive game. This is one of the better games of the Monday, and Bowling Green has a decent basketball program. We all know how bad they are at football, although this year they're winning some games in the MAC. Overall, Bowling Green, good basketball program. They're at home. The crowd's going to be into it. They're going to win this game outright, and they'll very likely cover the 1.5-point spread versus a very average Air Force team. Michigan State minus the 21.5 versus Northern Arizona, excuse me. I think Michigan State's going to be really good this year. To me, Izzo is due for a big year. They've got some returning production. The Big Ten is wide open. Michigan State has a number of huge non-conference games. They're going to be very competitive. They've got a tough schedule. I think they're going to want to get off on the right foot. This game's going to be over by halftime. You're talking about like a 43-19 type halftime score. Michigan State wins this game by around 30 and cruises minus the 21.5. Columbia at Rutgers. I love the under. It just seems like a lot of these early season non-conference home Rutgers games where they're big favorites. Seems like, number one, it always seems like Rutgers struggles to cover the spread. They're minus 22.5, and it always seems like the under hits in these games. So I'm just going the under 138.5 in that one. UT Martin plus the 11.5 at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is expected to be the worst team in the ACC. I'm just hedging against that plus the 11.5. UT Martin is nothing special, but again, this is mainly Pittsburgh being really bad. Can they win by 12? Yes. Will they? I think UT Martin will keep it competitive on opening night. Belmont, I love Belmont basketball. Minus the 6.5 versus Ohio. Really good team. I also like the over in this game. But I'll go, Belmont minus the 6.5. Houston is going to be unbelievable this year. I don't think, 23.5 versus Northern Colorado. I think they win this game very similar to the Michigan State game. They're going to throttle Northern Colorado and win that game probably by 30. Next, we've got Sam Houston at Oklahoma, over 131. I don't know much about these teams. It just seemed like a really small number. And a lot of games when they're in Oklahoma, in that stadium or in that arena, they seem to be higher scoring. So I'll take the over 131. Seems like a small number. Little Rock plus the 17.5 at Southern Illinois. The models really like this. The value on Little Rock is Southern Illinois. To me, this should be like a 12.5 point spread, not 17.5. That's just my opinion. Dartmouth at Fordham, the under 129. So the situation with Fordham, they're really good on defense, borderline elite on defense, but they're borderline awful on offense. That is not a big number, 129. But when you combine those factors, this game very easily could be 57-52, something like that, where the under 129 hits on opening night, and both of the defenses are ahead of the offenses. IUPUI at Iowa State, we're going the under 126, so IUPUI might struggle to score 40 points here, guys, and that's really what we're hedging. Iowa State at home, it's normally a snoozer. You're looking at like 72-48 or something. Actually, is that over 126? I don't know, maybe like 70, something like that. It is a small number, but I'm just hedging against IUPUI scoring. They are one of, actually, I believe right now, according to multiple metrics, of the Division I members, they're the worst team. And there's been several games where they can't even get to 40 points. Iowa State really doesn't score that much either. Also, Iowa State is minus 30.5 in this game. I think it's just a lot to go in on, but I would take Iowa State minus the 30.5. Western Carolina plus 15 at Georgia. This is just a situation where Georgia basketball is really bad. I know they got a new head coach, but I'll take Western Carolina to cover simply because that's a big number for a bad team to cover. Cornell at Boston College, we're going the under 143.5. It just seemed like a big number for these two teams. St. Mary's at versus Oral Roberts. So this game is at St. Mary's, I think. Over 145. It's a late night 9:30 game. We're expecting a lot of points. St. Mary's normally pretty good offense. Oral Roberts returning a lot of talent. We will take the over in that one. And then a few just value bets. Nevada minus the 10.5 versus Utah Tech. Yes, Utah Tech is a real school. They changed their name to Utah Tech. It seems like a made-up school, but Nevada, the overall models really think Nevada should be around a 16-point favorite in this game. It's opening night, it's whatever, but that's where the value is. Pepperdine minus the 3 versus Rice. The models think Pepperdine should be about minus 7.5, minus 8, so there's some decent value there. Also, the over in that game, considering Rice has a decent offense but a really bad defense. And then UCLA in the nightcap, the 10:30 game, minus the 24.5 versus Sacramento State. I just don't think it's enough. I think UCLA in this situation will win this game by around 30. Of course, it's really a crapshoot. You get late in these games, it's 82-61, 82-59 with 3 minutes left. UCLA's playing their backups. That's why you really shouldn't be betting on these games yet, especially games with huge spreads. The only bigger spreads I would go in on, like minus 21 for Michigan State, I'd feel pretty safe for them to cover that. But when you get to like minus 24, minus 30, it's really, really tough. It's similar to college football, and you're asking like an Ohio State to cover a 35-point spread versus Indiana or whatever it is. When they're playing their third stringers, it gets late in the game. Are they going to cover? It's very hard to look and see. That's why a lot of these are over-under picks, because it's just an overall vibe of the game. And really, this is just kind of getting into the swing of college basketball and all of the games that are happening tomorrow. And it's all going to be blowouts. There's very few competitive games tomorrow. Kind of interesting how they do that with college basketball. You would think that they would do an opening night extravaganza where it would be a lot of fun, Big Ten SEC matchups, Big 12, Pac-12 matchups, where it's like the opening night you face another Power 5 school, like Ohio State faces Arizona and Duke faces Purdue or something fun like that. I think that's what they should do. I mean, this is still cool, but it is kind of weird. We're seeing a bunch of Division II, Division III teams playing. We're seeing teams, 30-point, 20-point favorites and things like that. So I don't know if that's the perfect way to market college basketball and announce that it's back. But they do have big games. I know Michigan State, the Champions Classic, whatever, things like that. The tournaments I'm really not a fan of. I think a lot of that's fluky, and it's very tough to take that seriously because a team can get hot over 3 days. They do those tournaments where it's back to back to back. I just don't like the tournament format, like in a non-conference schedule. I don't know. But this is just to get back into the swing of things. This is a grain of salt. It's whatever. I don't know, really, guys. I'm just guessing based off the offseason analytics and the preseason analytics and the overall transfers and things like that. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.